Hey, what's up, guys? Ken here from the Retro Escapades channel in Malaysia. Tonight on the channel, I've selected another vintage Masters of the Universe mini comic for review, and this one's called The Menace of Multibot. Once again, this mini comic the original version of it was produced in Malaysia in 1985, as was the original Multibot action figure. Now, I've never actually had the chance to own Multibot. Not the vintage version, but I always wanted to. Okay, I've seen photos of him in the catalog and in Toy Max over the years, and definitely he performs in the same way that Modulok does. But there's just one problem. Okay, when I look at the cover of this mini comic, that thing that's attacking He-Man, look, man, that just ain't the Multibot. Okay, you know what the Multibot looks like? Let me just try to refresh everyone's memory by putting up this picture here on the screen. Now feast your eyes on this, my friends. This right here is the Multibot. Okay, this is the Multibot that was put out by Mattel in 1985. And man, it sure does look great, doesn't it? This thing just looks freaking fantastic. A fiendishly cybernetic beast, okay, which you can disassemble and form dozens of other monstrous robotic combinations. And as you can see, one of them even has like something like a biker helmet on. It kind of makes him look like somebody out of Tron, the movie. Okay, but either way, look, this is what comes to mind when I think of the Multibot. This thing that He-Man is fighting here on the cover kind of looks like a giant coffee mug cobbled together with a whole bunch of soda cans. I don't know, man, but this for damn sure is not the Multibot. All right, now I could just probably attribute this to the fact that probably when the artist was working on this, they didn't have access to the actual finished production photos of the actual toy. Okay, this probably wasn't accessible to them at the time. This is an era before things like email and smartphone. They're probably working off rough descriptions provided to them over a land phone and things like that. So probably that's what happened here. Okay, but hey, look, if I was a kid and I got my hands, I was lucky enough to get my hands on this Multibot toy when it came out, and maybe I was like 7 or 8 and this thing was in my hands, and if I had the toy and then I looked at the mini comic that came with the toy and I saw how the mini comic had portrayed it, I might have cried. Okay, it's possible. Okay, it's possible that I may have cried. Okay, faced with the horror of something like this, I may have been reduced to tears. Anyway, our story starts on the planet of Eteria as Hordak is found wallowing in self-pity and depression, wondering why the heroes of Eternia keep on winning and he never has a chance to defeat them. By the way, the writer of this particular story is Stephen Grant, who would go on to do fantastic work with the Punisher series in the 1980s. So yeah, this book has some big name talent to it. Now, enter Modulok with the solution to Hordak's problems. Okay, in this scene here, Hordak sort of lets out a shrill shriek, okay, like a little girl, right? He's like, yeah, what's happened to you, Modulok? And I don't think the characterization here is what it should be, because a fearsome villain like Hordak, literally the most fearsome villain in the MOTU universe, I don't think that somebody like him is going to be afraid of the sight of one of his minions, no matter how weird the guy looks, okay? But it seems that in this particular situation, Modulok is seen here with foreign parts attached to him that Hordak doesn't recognize. And then Modulok splits apart further to reveal that he's created a new cybernetic creature called Multibot. And as a hint to what the toy can actually do as well, both Modulok and Multibot can combine together. You create something called the Mega Beast, I believe. Now, I don't actually have the Multibot, but I sure would like to get it and combine it with the Modulok figure in my collection, and then finally I'll have the Mega Beast as well. Okay, does anybody out there, do you guys out there, if you got the Mega Beast in your collection, let me know. Maybe you can drop me a photo of it as well. This thing can probably do like it says, 1,000 different combinations, okay, of interchangeable parts. So I'd really like to see, what you guys can do with these two characters. Okay, so we get the grand first appearance of Multibot, and Modulok reveals his sinister plan to use his creation to storm Eternia, destroy He-Man once and for all, and then Castle Grayskull will be ripe for the taking. He's so confident that his creation will finally be the one instrument to destroy He-Man for good, and he convinces Hordak of this, and Hordak agrees to his insane plan, hoping that, at least if Multibot is able to soften He-Man up, then he can move in for the kill eventually and then rule all of Eternia. So I like the fact that Multibot is immediately dispatched. Okay, the next thing you know, he's already at the gates of the palace, all right? And then you see him announcing his presence. He straight up just turns up right there and calls out He-Man. Okay, calls him out to come on down and get down with it. All right, it's just calling him out for a fight. Okay, and I like this scene here. Okay, he just basically doesn't waste any time. He starts pounding away at the palace walls. Okay, just hoping to draw out He-Man. And I definitely like the fact that the story is moving very fast, just moving into the action without wasting any time. And He-Man realizes that, he needs to get in on this pretty soon, okay? Nobody knows what the hell's going on. Who the hell is this creature? But Teela decides to throw herself into the fight first, giving Adam the chance to transform himself to He-Man. Multibot makes short work of Teela. I mean, he literally just tosses her aside. It's like in the 80s, Sarah Connor is going up against the Terminator, and the Multibot just pulls a total T-800 on her. Okay, just smacks her down, and you begin to realize that the Masters could be in for a real fight here. Cyclone tries to help out, but it's pointless. Okay, Multibot just grabs him and tosses him straight into Teela. In fact, just sends him smashing into Teela, and even manages to call him a spinning fool. Finally, when all seems lost, He-Man turns up to save the day. And you wonder to yourself, is this going to be the end of Multibot? And it sure seems that way at first, because He-Man starts pounding into him, especially when he realizes that the guy's just a robot, so he doesn't have to hold back in any way. He can just tear into him, and he basically smashes Multibot into several different directions. Okay, Multibot's just smashed there in pieces, and everybody thinks that it's over, that they're done with him. But it turns out that back in Eternia, Hordak and Modulok are watching the proceedings, and Hordak's extremely unhappy at how easily Multibot appears to have been defeated. But Modulok explains to him that no, things are far from over, and they begin to see Multibot forming himself again, okay, being able to pull himself together just with the same interchangeable ability that Modulok himself has, and he was able to program into the Multibot. And so Hordak thinks to himself, well, okay then, that's not too bad now, is it? So he decides to use the portal to head down to Eternia, to right where the action is, so that he can be ready to take over once He-Man's defeated. But as he leaves, he fails to see this thought balloon emerging, this sinister thought balloon that comes out from Modulok's head, and looks like this guy is just he's just a pointless, useless traitor. Okay, apparently he's just pulling a Starscream here, all right, because he apparently is programmed Multibot to defeat Hordak. Okay, once he's done with He-Man, Multibot's gonna turn all that rage onto Hordak and defeat him as well. So it turns out that Modulok's just a no good, lying, backstabbing scum. Okay, just a lying, backstabbing, red jellybean monster scum. Now back on Eternia, the battle is still going on strong, and Multibot is virtually unstoppable. He-Man keeps pounding into him, tearing into him, smashing into him, but he keeps rebuilding himself over and over again, until at one point a thought just hits He-Man, and he has an idea. Okay, well, we don't know what exactly is going to happen here, but he instructs Cyclone, who's basically not even doing a single damn thing here to help out. Well, he just tells him that, look, you know what, head over to Man-at-Arms laboratory and get some magnets. Okay, so yeah, finally Cyclone's got a reason to be useful. But meanwhile, while Cyclone is running his errand, He-Man has to keep Multibot busy, and by keeping him busy, basically it means taking a pounding over and over again. And this is pretty interesting here, because we seldom see action scenes in the Masters of the Universe comics where He-Man is really taking a pounding. Okay, it seldom happens, all right, but here it does really look like Multibot could actually take him down. Okay, this guy's like the juggernaut, man. He can't be stopped, all right? And you really see He-Man actually on the verge of being utterly defeated, but then suddenly something happens. An unexpected savior turns up, and it is none other than Hordak. Okay, Hordak finally makes it down there from through the portal, from Eteria, and he commands Multibot to just stand aside. Now, there's kind of a weird moment here in the dialogue where, when Multibot sees Hordak and he says here, Hordak, you are mentioned in my memory banks. Right. So, didn't they just meet earlier on Eteria when Modulok brought him out to be introduced to Hordak? Yeah, now it seems like he's meeting Hordak for the first time, okay? But maybe some kind of programming is kicking in like how Modulok said it would, right? And now Multibot decides to turn his attention straight over to Hordak, okay? Because he's supposed to apparently destroy Hordak after he's done with He-Man. But of course, Hordak is not having any of this insolent disobedience, okay? He's just straight up uses his powers to fry Multibot, okay? You see Multibot just getting fried with some green sparking energy type thing, just, giving pulled apart, shattered apart, okay? Totally shattered apart. But even this is probably not the end of him, all right? Now, just then, Cyclone finally turns up with the magnets that he was supposed to take from Man-at-Arms laboratory. And, wow, dude, you sure did take your time, didn't you? I mean, Cyclone's supposed to be like the human Cyclone. He's supposed to be able to move really fast, okay? But, wow, okay, he apparently turned out after all the action's over. But then he's got the magnets with him. And He-Man's plan is actually to use the magnets to sort of like pull Multibot apart in pieces, okay? Different parts of him are going to be attached to different magnets, and this in a way is probably going to short circuit his programming, all right? Or so they think. And in fact, as it turns out, that's exactly what happens here, okay? Multibot gets pulled apart in so many different directions, and he's unable to form himself again, and then basically he's unable to form a clear thought, all right? So he's short circuiting, and in this moment of computer error and default programmings, he turns all that rage onto Hordak, okay, and proceeds to attack him once again. And this is the second time that we're seeing Multibot launch himself trying to attack Hordak. And it's this second attack that apparently works, okay? Because it appears that Multibot's being fueled by sufficient berserker rage this time around from his programming, short-circuiting, and things like that. See, the first time they tried to attack Hordak, he just wasn't angry enough. But this time around, he's just freaking pissed, okay? And apparently it works. He manages to overpower Hordak, and the both of them are sent screaming straight back into the fright zone, back to Eteria, wherever the hell is it that they came from, but they're gone, all right? And so the day is saved. Now, I gotta say that I'm really happy with how this story turned out, because as an introduction piece to a new character like Multibot, they really gave us a sense of how dangerous Multibot can be, despite the fact that, he kind of looks like a deranged version of the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. But that being said, we really got to see just how dangerous and how much of a threat he could be. And, in fact, he very much literally almost defeated He-Man, all right? It took Hordak to step in to kind of like even the odds out. But the story was very focused on Multibot. Unlike the story that I reviewed last night, which was the treachery of Modulok, and that was actually the first time that we were being introduced to Modulok as a character. But however, the story kind of strayed into all sorts of different directions, all right? It became from a Modulok origin story to that of the Thunder Punch He-Man instead. So that by the end of the story, it became more about Thunder Punch He-Man showing off his abilities and not so much on how much of a threat Modulok was. So, hey, you know what? That's the review, guys. Let me know what you thought of it. I do want to hear your comments as always. Let me know what else you want me to get reviewed here on the channel. Keep subscribing, and if you're enjoying the content, do help to share out the videos. I need your assistance as always to help build up the channel even further. And I'll catch you guys again real soon with more content. Take care.